Hey everybody, well we were just loading the trailer on the annual now pilgrimage out to Sturgis, and it dawned on me that I hadn't really spoken much about my own personal road glide, what we've done to it, why I like it so much, because I really do like this bike. And then I want to tell you about some changes that I've made to it recently, but we'll get into that here in a minute. So as you can see, the Brock's Performance Road Glide looks Brock's Performance. I got to thank Dave Perowitz for nailing it on the paint job. He said, Brock, what color do you want it? I said, it's just got to look Brock's. Blue, black, okay, and maybe a little bit loud. So great job, Dave, on the paint job. Got with Corbin for a custom Brock's Corbin seat to match everything up. So we're looking pretty good, but you know, here at Brock's, we're a little bit more about performance than we are looks. Got to look good, but we got to perform well also, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about that. If we start here, and I know it's going to be real difficult for you to see, but we do have our performance bagger swing arm on it. It's aluminum versus the steel unit. We saved about 15 pounds of unsprung weight. What does that mean? The weight that your shocks and forks are holding up is sprung weight. Unsprung is below it. That allows your suspension to work a little bit quicker and easier the more weight you can take off. Speaking of weight reduction, as you can see, we also have BST carbon fiber wheels. Let me go ahead and move up to the front here. BST carbon fiber wheels, and then on our baggers we use the Michelin, the Pilot Road 4 GTs. So a lot of people get caught up on load ratings and whatever. Listen, these are ZR rated tires. They're rated to go as fast as I can possibly go for as long as I want and not give me problems. That's what we use on these bikes, and they work really, really well. Asterisks. Use whatever your favorite know-it-all biker tells you to use. This is just what we use. So, BST carbon fiber wheels. We've got Brake Tech 330 millimeter floating rotors. We've got Brembo GP4 calipers, Spiegler lines. I got to tell you a quick story. When I very first put these brakes on, I put them on. We went straight out to Sturgis. The first time I rode the bike, I jumped up on the interstate. I was running, the speed limit out there is 80. So I was probably going 81 or so. Anyway, there was a gentleman in front of me on an old chopper, and I was coming up on him pretty quick. Well, so what do? Bike with cruise control. I had the cruise set. I just took 2 fingers, flicked my cruise off. The front wheel went, smoke flying. I went, oh, damn, that's right. This is the good stuff. Brembos, braking rotors, just crazy. Now, as far as handling goes, we tell everyone that according to BST engineers, for every 1 pound you can reduce off of the rotating mass, it's like pulling 5 to 7 pounds of weight off of the entire bike. When we switch to these BST wheels and these Michelin Pilot Road tires, we saved 15 pounds of rotating mass on the front and the rear. So 30 pounds of rotating mass we saved. So, Brock, does that mean the bike feels 150 pounds lighter? No, it feels more than that. It really, really, really makes a huge difference, especially on a bike that's this heavy. To be able to get it more maneuverable like that is just unbelievable. So anyway, great call there. Sasha Kraus, good friend of mine, has a really nice fork setup that works great. He does all the homework, gets all the spacing and everything done for you. I did have to make some pretty big spacers here because most people don't use legit hardcore badass road racing rotors on their Harleys, so I had to make a couple adjustments there. Also have the Kraus top triple trees. What the hell they call them on these things? These are rubber dampened, got some fat bars, so we got a nice look. And then Roaring Toyz, they've got some really nice stuff here. These are aluminum levers, and then if you look, the floorboards are Roaring Toyz too, but this is aluminum, and it's all been hollowed out. And I got to tell you, I rode this bike out to Sturgis in 2018, And something as simple as this little cutout, so you can just rest your feet here if you want. Really nice. Same thing with this extension on the back. You know, if you're on the bike hours at a time, you sort of get you get cramped up. Just being able to move my foot back and stretch a little bit. Wonderful, wonderful invention. And they're aluminum, not stamped steel or poo. So, oh, really nice S&S. Of course, we've got a Sprint filter underneath here. I run the P08 on the street. Nice little carbon S&S cover and inlet there. That's really about it. I ride this bike more than any other motorcycle I own. And in fact, I've got, let me check real quick. I've got 14,000 miles on this bike, and that is more than pretty much all of my sport bikes combined. Of course, they only go quarter mile at a time. Now, oh, well, hey Brock, there's a Brock's Performance titanium CT muffler, mated to a basically homemade front section that we did just for giggles. Between the, so these bikes don't make a lot of horsepower. This thing only made 63 horsepower when it was bone stock. It was terrible. With the pipe, I do have a power commander on it to adjust the fueling, and the Sprint filter S&S inlet. It's up to about 88 horsepower. Is that great? No, but you can bet your ass you can tell the difference between 63 and 88, especially when you pull all that weight off the bike. I know we always get yelled at if I don't let people hear exhaust when I talk about them, so let me start this real quick. All right, so you can hear me, and it's a Harley. Can you believe it? One thing that works out real nice with our CT muffler installed on here is it has a nice, low, not obnoxious sound, but in typical Brock's Performance fashion, if you grab a handful of gas, you can go ahead and wake to death. All right, is that it? I believe that's it. I recently made a change. Actually, I was a test dummy for some new products. Let me get a couple things ready here, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. All right, guys. One of the things I really like about going out to Sturgis is there's a lot of things to do, beautiful country, some amazing roads. So I usually end up with multiple configurations out there while I'm doing my trip. This is configuration number 1. So what's configuration number 1? No passenger, try to take as much crap out of the bags as I can and go. You know, like first thing I'm gonna do when we get there, I'm gonna go take a solo trip down Spearfish Canyon Road. I love that road, it's a lot of fun. I'm gonna see if I can scrape up my Roaring Toyz floorboards there and just basically go and have as much fun as I can possibly have on a bike this big. Then we have configuration number 2. Now, for some reason that I'm gonna guess most people can probably figure out, my wife, bless her heart, absolutely refuses to get on any motorcycle with me unless there's a sissy pad. Something about wheelies, not feeling comfortable, feeling like she's gonna fall off the back all the time. Put this on, great setup. Usually when we do that, we're gonna go out, maybe go down to Black Hills Harley-Davidson, check some stuff out. So we've got our saddle bag, our saddlebags, you know, to put items in, but sometimes we overfill it. We strap bags on here. So why am I telling you this? Well, that's configuration number 2. So we've got my wife, who weighs considerably less than I do, but definitely can feel that she's there, and some potential for luggage. Now, when we're there, we spend a lot of time working and socializing and talking to our friends in the Harley-Davidson world, but occasionally we get a chance to take a trip. So if we're gonna take a trip, sometimes we'll keep this set up. If it's just a day trip, this works out just fine. But if we're gonna go on an overnight trip, especially if the weather may or may not be cooperating with us, we will install the tour pack, because it's fun. This is usually a two-person job, by the way. Right. Now, this is configuration number 3. This tour pack alone weighs almost 40 pounds empty. You can also see that 40 pounds gets moved back considerably, and then if we fill this compartment with stuff, Harley-Davidson says there's a 25-pound limit to what you can put in there. Trust me, you can put a whole lot more than that. So now we've got this configuration plus the wife, all this extra weight and gear. So that's configuration number 3. Why am I mentioning this? Because I like the bike to handle as good as it can, even when we get it weighted down a little bit extra. And my wife, bless her heart, thinks that all vehicles should ride like her Lexus. Well, when I'm set up in configuration number 1, I'm pretty stiff, I'm pretty sporty. I want the bike to be as responsible as I can get it. So when I put her on, we got little earpieces, and I'll get the ooh, ow, ooh when we go over bumps. Let me show you a new, really cool secret. See this little deal here? I can reach down, hear that audible click, and I can pull a click or two out of the compression to soften up the ride. This thing actually has 20 clicks, so it can really adjust the spring compression. Now let me, while we're down here, I'll just go ahead and pull off this bag and show you how this works. It's really nifty. So you can see what we have here. This is Bitubo's new shocks. Grab a little info here before we discuss these Bitubo shocks. Now, of course, on a bagger, you can't really see them, so the fact that the shocks are all blacked out, really nice looking, is doesn't matter as much on that particular one. These on this bike is the 12.85 Bitubo. They're the WME22V3. I can tell you what the V3 is, version 3, because we've been testing back and forth to make sure that these shocks are perfect for what we're doing. And one of the things that's really nice, you've got your regular spring preload adjuster, but you've also got the hydraulic adjuster here. And if you notice, this cable runs back, and this is what makes the adjustment. So basically, we have almost a ½ an inch of adjustment that will do the same thing as moving this top ring. Well, if you've ever adjusted your spring preload with a wrench, it takes a long time. And in the past, I was making suspension adjustments for each one of these. Now, they've made it so simple. We've got our compression adjustment here, so we get this thing all loaded down. I can go ahead and stiffen the suspension up so it's not doing this pogo stuff down the street. We also, and I really like this, everybody talks about, you know, all these different suspension settings, rebound, compression, and it really complicates things. What Bitubo did was they put a really simple little lever here. And if you look at this lever, if you move it this way, it's soft. If you move it this way, it's hard. Same thing on the other side. I run mine right here in the middle, typically, on both sides. And then I may reach down and tighten them up a little bit if I'm really going to be gone for a day and want to go have some fun in the corners. And then the rest of the time, primarily as we add load, when you increase the spring tension, it naturally wants to sort of bounce back. So we just tell this, make it a little harder, and it's done. And you don't even have to pull off the bag to do that. I just reach up, and to the right soft, to the left is hard, and just feel where I'm going. Boom, boom. So these are really nice. They've been tested thoroughly. Bitubo makes a great shock, and the best thing is they're very well built, and they come in at a price point that is much more reasonable than some of the other high-end suspensions out there. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Oh, I forgot to show. We also have our Brock's Performance real carbon fiber shift rod. Oh, and my clock windscreen. Those guys tested a couple different windscreens for me. That's the one nice thing. If you go down to Black Hills Harley-Davidson, Clock will put that on, you take them for a ride, boom, 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 pick the one you want. Works out really nice. So right now I have this bike exactly how I want it to be until I put the big old engine I've got in there. I've got a crate motor for it. I just haven't had time to do it. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope the Bitubo demonstration makes sense to you. You can see typically what I do. I'll put my base settings here. So Bitubo, I've got compression on +4, which means you unscrew it all the way and you go in 1, 2, 3, 4. And Bitubo gives you starting points too, as far as different rider weights, passenger weights, luggage, and so forth. And then on the rebound adjustment, like I said, it's got 6 positions. I leave it right about 3, and that's great for what I'm doing most of the time. And like I said, it's just so easy to make additional adjustments to compensate for all these different configurations. So great job from Bitubo. We'll put information on where you can find these shocks in the long description. And until next time, I'm Brock from Brock's Performance. We'll see you then.